Hi, we're going to go ahead and continue on with chest. We're going to talk about the PA oblique chest. This is starting on slide number 47. So site of interest is farther from the IR, that's the elevated side. PA oblique chest, patient is in the upright, standing, or seated position, heart position, 45-degree left anterior oblique, LAO, or right anterior oblique, RAO. The top of the IR is 1.5 to 2 inches above the vertebral prominence, and the arms positioned out of the collimated area. So the CR is perpendicular to the IR. It enters at the level of T7, same as the PA chest, and the exposure is made after the second fold inspiration. So the site of interest is closer to the IR, the dependent side. The patient is upright or recumbent, the part position, 45-degree left posterior oblique, LPO or right posterior oblique, RPO, the arms out of the field, and the shoulders in the same transverse plane. Continue, the CR is perpendicular to the IR. It enters 3 inches below the jugular notch, and exposure again is made on the second full inspiration. The AP chest, the patient position is supine, used when the patient is too ill for upright positions. Heart position, center of the MSP to the IR. Top of the IR is 1.5 to 2 inches above the shoulder. If patient conditions permit, flex the elbow, pronate the hands, and place hands on hips to draw scapula laterally. Adjust the shoulders into the same transverse plane. Continue, the CR is perpendicular to the long axis of the sternum and center of the IR. It enters 3 inches just below the jugular notch. Exposure is made after second full inspiration. AP axial chest is a lordotic position. Patient is standing facing the tube, so it'll be in an AP, approximately 1 foot in front of the grid. Top of the IR is placed 3 inches above the shoulders where the patient's in the lordotic position. The MSP center to the midline of the grid. Assist patient to lean backwards until shoulders rest on the grid. Continuing, the CR is perpendicular to the IR. Enters the MSP at the mid-sternum, and again the exposure is made after the second full inspiration. So essential projections, a lung and a pleura, AP or PA, right or left lateral decubitus position. Lateral is the ventral or dorsal decubitus position. So I'll use the same collimated field size, 14 by 17. For the AP or the PA lateral decubitus position, the patient position, lateral decubitus on the right or left side. So this is very important. To demonstrate fluid, patients should lie on the affected side because fluid's heavier, so be down. To demonstrate the free air, patient should be positioned on the unaffected side because the air will rise. Patient needs to be in the position for 5 minutes for optimal pathology visualization. So to position for the lateral decubitus, elevate the body 2 to 3 inches if lying on the affected side. True lateral is without rotation. Extend the arms over the head and the AP or PA surface of the chest against the vertical grid device. Top of the shoulders of the IR should be 1.5 to 2 inches beyond the shoulder. So the central ray, horizontal and perpendicular to the center of the IR. It enters at the MSP at 2 inches below the jugular notch for an AP, T7 for a PA, Exposure, again, is made on the second full inspiration. So for the lateral, the ventral or dorsal decubitus position, the patient position is prone or supine. Body elevated 2 to 3 inches. Part position, true prone or supine position without rotation. Affected side is against the vertical grid device. Arms above the head. Top of the IR is at the level of the thyroid cartilage. The central ray is horizontal and perpendicular to the IR, enters at the level of the MCP, 3 to 4 inches below the jugular notch, for the dorsal decubitus, T7 for the ventral decubitus. The exposure is made after the second full inspiration. Patient should be in position for at least 5 minutes before the exposure to allow fluid to settle or for the air to rise. Image evaluation criteria of the chest. Visual projections of the chest, lungs, and pleura. For the PA chest, evidence of proper collimation, entire lung field from the apices to the costophetic angles, no rotation, sternal ends of the clavicles equidistant from the vertebral column, trachea visible in the midline, equal distance from the vertebral column to the lateral border of the ribs on each side. Proper shoulder rotation demonstrated by scapula projected outside the lung fields. Proper inspiration demonstrated by 10 posterior ribs visible above the diaphragm, at least one less rib visible on expiration. Sharp outlines of the heart and diaphragm, faint shadows of the ribs at superior thoracic vertebrae visible through the heart shadow. Lung marking visible from the hilum to the periphery of the lung. And there's your PA chest. The only thing I would criticize about this is there's a lot of neck showing. You don't need that much. It only should be about 1.5 inches, 2 inches above the top of the shoulders there. So you could probably collimate. Lateral chest, evidence of proper collimation, arms or its soft tissues not overlapping the superior lung field, costophetic angles on the lower apices of the lungs, hilum in the appropriate center of the radiograph, superimposition of the ribs posterior to the vertebral column, lateral sternum with no rotation, long axis of the lung field shown in vertical position without forward or backward leaning, open thoracic vertebral spaces and in vertebral foramina, except in patients with scoliosis. Penetration of the lung field and heart, sharp outlines of the heart and diaphragm. So here's an example of a lateral chest. PA oblique chest, evidence of proper collimation. Both lungs in their entirety, trachea filled with air, visible identification markers, heart and mediastinal structures within the lung field of the elevated side in oblique, images of 45 degrees, maximum area of the right lung on LAO, maximum area of the left lung on RAO. So there's an example of a PA oblique chest in the LAO position. PA oblique chest, evidence of proper collimation, both lungs in their entirety, trachea filled with air, visible identification markers, lung fields and mediastinal structure, maximum area of the left lung on LPO, maximum area of the right lung on RPO. So here's an AP oblique chest in the LPO position. AP axial chest lordotic position, evidence of proper collimation, entire apices and appropriate portions of the lung, clavicles located superior to the apices, sternal ends of the clavicle equidistant from the vertebral column, clavicles lying horizontally with their sternal ends overlapping only the first or second ribs. Ribs distorted with their anterior and posterior portions superimposed. So here's the AP Lordotic. This is the area that you're concerned about. Right up here is the apices. And you can see in that position how the ribs are horizontal. APPA lateral decubitus position. Evidence of proper collimation. Affected side in its entirety from apex to the claustrophrenic angle. No rotation of the patient from a true frontal position. The sternal ends of the clavicles equidistant from the spine. Patient's arms not visible in the field of interest. Proper identification visible to indicate that the decubitus position was performed. So here's an example, a right lateral decubitus position. So the area of interest for the fluid is the affected side down, which is the right side. And then the marker indicates that the left side is up. Lateral ventral or dorsal decubitus position, evidence of proper collimation. The entire lung field, including the anterior and posterior surfaces. Upper lung field not obscured by the arms. No rotation of the thorax from a true lateral position. T7 in the center of the IR. Proper identification markers visible to indicate that the decubitus position was performed. So you can see here that the right side is up. So that's indicated right here. And the arrows indicating pointing down. Image critique. So which position is this? The ribs are horizontal. You're looking at the apices here. So the correct answer is C, AP Axial Lordotic Chest. Slide 89 here. Which position is this? So it's a lateral projection. So the answer is D, lateral dorsal decubitus, indicated with the right marker. And there's also pictures and description of this, page 518 in Merrill's. So this is one we looked at in class. They had this one mislabeled. You guys were quick to spot this one. They had it as an AP left lateral decubitus. It's in fact answer is B. It's an AP right lateral decubitus. The patient's laying on the right side, indicating there's fluid levels here. And there's also a description and picture of this on page 516 in Merrill's. So clicker question, which projection is this? And this would be an AP. See the right marker here? '92. This one's pretty straightforward. Answer C, lateral. Slide 93. Correct answer is A, AP oblique, LPO left lung. And you can also see an image of this in page 516 in your Merrill's. This one's pretty straightforward. be a PA position, and I think this is the same one. There's too much neck showing here. I would collimate it, and also there's no marker. And the last slide here. The correct answer here is A, PA oblique. LAO, it's showing the right lung. So that concludes the special projections for the chest.